Well, inevitably, we'll both be picked up. I'll just have to... I don't know what I'm doing. All right, I'm going to try to hide my fucking gut. I don't have a fucking pillow.
Well, you could get one. We have a ton of pillows everywhere.
Well, that would look weird.
It would look a little weird. I'm not going to lie about it.
I'll try to block it with my arms and my knee. So we are talking about our engagement. When we got engaged.
Yes, because 9 years ago today, we got engaged.
Yes, we did.
So I'm sure there will be other podcasts where we talk about all the other stuff leading up to that. Because that was 11 years of time, probably. Yeah. Or 8. But we can at least talk about the engagement, the actual engagement night.
Okay. So let's see. Leading up to the engagement.
So what I'll say is, at this point, 8 or 9 years, 11 years, however far we are in, I had resigned myself. At this point, though, I knew you were going to propose at some point. I wasn't worried about it anymore. I knew we were going to get engaged. I just didn't know when. So I was, pretty calm about it at that point. And then I found out, we were going to the grotto for dinner. And I thought, maybe he's going to propose. Maybe this is the night he's going to propose to me.
Yeah. But what I was going to say was, I did ask your dad.
Yeah, you did.
I did. I did not ask him in person. I was going to ask in person. We went to dinner with them in Rhode Island, and we went to Siena, which was a place that we really liked.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that place.
They have 2 of them.
Yeah.
They have Siena on Federal Hill, and then they have bootleg Siena that's classic next to a strip mall, because it's all strip malls in Rhode Island. Sorry, Rhode Island. And we went to the second one, so it wasn't as awesome.
That's cool, yeah.
And then I was going to ask him, and you went to the bathroom, and I was going to ask him, and it didn't happen then. And then I don't remember if it was before or after, but there was a wedding. Was it Melissa's wedding?
Melissa's wedding. Who ended up being one of my bridesmaids. She was my assistant at work.
And I was going to ask then too.
Yeah.
But then Nana, your mom, started in on me.
Because
every Christmas she cries, and every Valentine's she weeps,
which is
and
so
every
not
birthday
true.
She screams.
I mean, you knew anytime I was upset about us not being engaged, you were the first to know it.
Well, yeah,
I never called my mom.
A commercial would come on, or any movie would come on. I would just be in Jurassic Park. I would just try to hide and not move, because I'd be I could feel your eyes on me, even if you weren't looking at me. I was oh. I'm close to death now. I'm going to get killed for this. So it was one of those nights. I don't remember if it was before that or after that I was just oh, well,
you just had to
I'm
call
not going
my
to do
dad
it tonight, because then
it'll seem like you were being pressured into it.
Yeah, and so I just didn't do it. So,
and I think I had even told her at that point, don't bring it up. It's going to happen. Don't worry about it. Just please.
Every Christmas she cries. Every birthday she cries.
It's not true. I went over their house one time to cry, and it was because we had had a big fight about it, and we're taking a break, which never lasted more than a couple days.
It was a weekend.
Yeah, but that was the one time. But I did think it was interesting that at our wedding, when my dad gave his speech, he talked about how he was having such a bad day at work, and that he was having a horrible time, and he felt awful, and he had cancer, and he was going through chemo, and he felt the walls were closing in around him, and you called him to ask for my hand.
Hey! New folks we've met over the last couple of days. It's been very nice to get to know all of you, especially Victoria and Kevin's friends, and it's good to see all of our family and our friends together again, celebrating this great occasion that most of us never thought would happen. I have to tell you a quick story, and then I'll get on to the serious part of the toast. But I was having the worst possible day at work. I worked for Bank of America at the time, one of the most difficult places in the world to work. And we were in a business meeting and nothing was going right. And my phone rang and it was Kevin. And I was like, well, either they've been in a car accident or he's going to ask for my daughter's hand in marriage. Either way, I got to answer the call. I walked out of the meeting. I took the call. I couldn't be happier than to have Kevin join the family. Him and Victoria are a perfect match together. And Tori's craziness and Kevin's calmness and Kevin's craziness and Tori's practicality. You know, somewhere in there, somebody's got to find common sense, but maybe one of the kids. Which brings me to the serious part of my speech. My children are very competitive. So far, I have one child very much in the lead. That's Richard. He has already given me one grandchild, Richard and Heather, and they have one on the way. So you guys have a lot of catching up to do. No pressure, but I'm looking for more grandchildren. Congratulations and thank you for coming.
I did. We were living in Maine at that point. We hadn't been up here that long.
Yeah.
When I asked, maybe we've been up here like a year actually, because if we got engaged in 2014 and we moved up here, I guess we had been here a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were in that house on Brackett Street that had like 5.5-foot ceilings and none of the walls were level.
The Willy Wonka house.
And the first time we toured it, like I got vertigo
you
because
were also
I was just
super
like,
hungover.
that's true. That's also true.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I called him and asked, and then I told my parents and whatever. So
anyway, he said that made his whole day so much better, and he had, he was just like beaming the rest of the day and so happy.
Yeah.
Which I thought was like interesting,
Yeah. I don't remember the conversation.
Yeah.
I don't really remember exactly what I said, and I don't remember what he said back. I don't remember. Obviously, it wasn't like,
well, because then
you can't marry my daughter. Clearly, it wasn't that, but it was.
Because then my dad and I were on some business trip that he had no business being on, and he like literally, now that I'm on chemo too, it's like unreal to me that he did this, knowing he went through chemo for 20 years. So, and he was always on the same drug, so he knew how it impacted him every day, and he legitimately, the day after chemo, knowing he'd be wrecked, jumped on an airplane to go to Vegas for the sales rally thing that we were going to.
Yeah.
Which was ridiculous. And he was so sick and it was so terrible.
But yeah, and then on the plane, didn't you see he had like the shakes and he was like sweating?
The stewardesses were like losing it. And I had to do like wellness check on him in his hotel room. But, then 24 hours later he was fine because he knows his cycle too.
Yeah.
But that could have been really bad. But anyway, while we were sitting by the pool, he was just like asking all these questions. He's like, oh, well, I wonder when you and Kevin will get married. And I was like, don't even worry about it. It's going to happen. I can tell now, like, I'm not worried about it. I'm chill about it. It's going to happen. And he was like, well, but maybe we should plan for this time or that time. And I was like, let's not make any plans. Like, it's going to happen. It's going to be fine. But I was like, why is he talking about this so much all of a sudden? Like, this is so ridiculous.
Yeah.
But something like that would have probably, like, triggered me before. Because I could feel I get the spidey sense. You weren't ready.
Well, I mean, I think one thing that had changed was that, like, you were fine or, like, comfortable in Rhode Island, and I was miserable in Rhode Island.
I know.
I was
to move out of Rhode Island.
To, like, Attleboro by a train track. Like
that house was a deal.
It was somebody's deal.
I wonder who bought that house.
I don't know. But, yeah, like, went from like living in Boston, liking Boston, quick commute, to having like an hour and 40 minutes on perfect day. It's an hour and 40 minutes each way.
Yeah.
And like every day, and just like miserable. And then like the weekend things would be better, and then during the week it would just like get steadily worse. And I just hated it so much that like it poisoned like everything. And then we moved up here, and then once we, things got, we were way more social up here, going out and trying restaurants. One, because there were good restaurants that weren't just like, here, try our, calamari and banana peppers. Here, try our calamari and banana peppers.
So
Like,
in fact, every menu in Rhode Island has calamari on it. It does not matter. You could be at like the Asian
the
restaurant.
Chinese restaurants have calamari and
Mexican
banana
restaurant.
peppers with marinara sauce.
It's all Rhode Island style calamari.
So it's like, yeah, they have really good Italian food and they have good pizzas, but it's like, at some point, at least at that time, we were like, you know, not really. What are we going to go to the fire where you like knew people, and we didn't have any place that was like local that you could walk to.
Yeah.
Living in Rhode Island,
we do like having the walkable stuff, and in Rhode Island too. Like, you know, by the time you got home during the week, it was draining. Like you didn't want to go back out.
Oh yeah, no, 100% no, because it's like so frazzled. You're just like your nerves are shot because like, you know. I don't know if anybody knows this about me, if you know this about me, but like I don't like strangers touching me.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be in like this sweaty hot box of a train car.
Right.
That's just like you're just like touching people and people are touching you and
like
you're
torture.
Stuck there and it's like you're just stuck. You can't even move. Yeah, so it sucked. And then like moving up here, it's like
that all
we got to go out way more. That became like our life going up here, and then it kind of was like an exhale of like, oh.
Because we both worked from home too,
yeah.
And we have so many bars and restaurants in walking distance.
Yeah.
Even though we had left behind like our friends, our family, our support systems, like it was kind of like being on vacation.
Yeah.
For a long time, because almost every day after work, we'd go out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we go to at least one or two bars.
Yeah, and we had our mainstay bars, but we would go. So
check out new places. And so yeah, it definitely changed. I mean, we always loved each other. Like, you know, one of the interesting things to me when we were dating is like we'd be out and a waiter or a person that we met at the bar would be like, "Oh, I hope I find somebody that, you know, I love as much as you guys love each other," because we were just like best friends.
Sure. Like you're talking past, and then we had children, and everything changed.
Well, we're talking about the engagement right now.
Yeah, we're talking about the engagement.
Leading up to.
Yeah. Okay. So then we're up here. I asked your dad. I told my parents, and then the plan was I didn't want to do it around any particular holiday of significance. It wound up working out that it was near St. Patrick's Day, but that doesn't really...
Right.
That was
accidental.
That's accidental. It's not like New Year's, didn't propose on New Year's, on your birthday, on my birthday, on Christmas. You know what I mean? Like...
And you spent a lot of time, I think, picking out the ring or researching.
I did. I got like a ring guy.
Yeah.
And I picked out like the diamond that I could afford and had to...
I wonder if you guys will
save up money.
Have rings. Probably you'll still have rings.
I bet diamonds are going to be cheapo depot.
I bet it'll be like more individualized. Like, who wants it? I mean, I love my diamond. Like, don't get me wrong, because this is the age I grew up in.
Yeah. But several children had to die for that diamond. Blood diamond.
I don't know that it's a blood diamond.
They say it's not, but that's probably just something.
It's not blood diamond. Don't ruin it.
Okay.
But maybe by the time you guys are getting married, it'll be something that's like something that really like means something to the both of you somehow.
You're still getting that.
I can't. Don't put there then.
Watch your eye tie arms.
I have eye tie arms.
All right. But yeah, so it took a while to pick out the diamond, find a diamond guy, and for a while I knew a lot about diamonds, and then we would like go out,
and you'd be like,
and I'd be like,
about
that is an A, whatever with X clarity, and like you'd know all the color cut clarity, with like I think like the big three, color cut clarity and carats, where I think like you could like go around and be like, oh, that is an expensive ring, like that's a lot.
But like, what if you saw one that was like glass? Would you even know?
If you were close enough, yes. But like if we were sitting next to somebody at the bar, and like you could see it's got like because the refracting, like like when you get your ring cleaned, like how it like super sparkles for a while, like that glass wouldn't do that. And
I'm so close to being able to get it off my finger so we can get it cleaned again. It's been so long.
Yeah.
But I know, I remember like the time she cleaned it, and I was like,
ooh.
I'd be like in the car driving, and I'm like a disco ball with.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe there was a time I could have checked.
Yeah.
So got the ring, picked up the ring, got it delivered and all that stuff.
And you said that your original plan was to propose to me when I got back from the trip. But I was so tired.
Oh yeah, you were like
After
in a
that
foul. You weren't like into anything.
No, and I even like slept at a rest stop.
Yeah.
On the way home, I was like,
Yeah.
I'm going to sleep for the next 3 hours.
Yeah.
Because I'm falling asleep driving.
Yeah, you didn't seem terribly pleased with me when when you got home. I was like, this isn't the time. So I had to rethink it, and then I decided on the Grotto.
Yeah.
Because the Grotto was like our favorite restaurant. I guess it still is our favorite restaurant, even though we haven't been in like 5 years at this point.
I know, but it's in Boston. But we're gonna go soon.
Yep. And so the plan was, beyond going there, and I figured I would find a spot that would be nice to ask you. And I had like a video I wanted to show you, and then like I realized as I was doing it that
Oh, we did watch that video though.
I know, but in my head when I had been drinking, sitting in front of the computer, I was like, oh, this is going to be really good. And then day of, it really didn't pan out.
There just wasn't like enough of a plan around it. So we're going to the Grotto.
Yeah.
And in my head, I'm like, this could be the proposal.
Yeah.
This could be happening. Because I always imagined you'd propose at the Grotto because it was like one of the first places we went on a real date. Like I know we went on a couple dates before that.
Yeah.
But that was like you were trying to impress me. You found a really cool restaurant.
Well,
we had a great time.
My criteria was, because back then not all restaurants had social media pages.
Yeah.
And I looked, and this one did have like pictures on its website, and I saw people wearing jeans. And I was like, okay, this is not so fancy, because my fear was that I would take you to like, because they do have really expensive, suit and tie, financial district, like restaurants. And I was like, I don't want to take her there because they'll know that like, they'll see me and they'll know I'm like out of my depth.
So like this guy,
underdressed and stuff.
Belong here.
So I was like, oh, I saw
Send
people.
him away.
So we found that restaurant, but it's such a good restaurant.
It is. We do. We love the Grotto. We ended up having our rehearsal dinner there. It's one of the reasons we had our wedding in that area and all that stuff. But so I thought to myself, this could be happening. But also, I was actually really chill about like not being engaged at that point because I knew it was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't stressed about it either. And then we got there early.
Yeah.
Which we never do. And mostly because of me, I think.
Yeah.
Because I'm usually late.
Yeah. And my thinking was I just wanted to be there, and we didn't know what kind of traffic we were going to face on a Saturday.
So we got there early, and we started to walk around
Boston Common.
Yep. And I was like, oh, this is very different.
Yeah.
We've never done this before. Kevin's probably going to propose while we're in the Boston Common.
No.
And this is when it's going to happen. So now I'm like, oh. So we're walking around the Boston Common, and we found a bench to sit on. You're like, let's sit here and like just relax for a little bit. And I'm like, okay, check that out. And then we sat down on the bench, and then we talked for a little bit.
We did, but like a couple of things. One, we had been dating for how long at that point? 7 or 8 years.
7 or 8 years at least.
And you think I'm gonna do a public proposal in front of like a bunch of people as they're walking by?
There was like no one around.
It was the Boston Common. There were people around. Maybe the whole
like
world
far away.
The whole world fell away for you.
Yeah.
Because I was there, but there was people there. And then the other thing is legitimately, like, from the bench, I looked down, and there were like people shooting up within like.
I didn't see that.
Well, again.
I wasn't paying attention.
Well, I was, and I was just like, this is not the move. Like,
yeah.
And I wasn't really considering it at that time.
Yeah.
Like, wasn't part of my
So
plan.
we hung out there for like a half hour or
45 minutes, yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, he did not propose here. So I started saying to myself, like, you know what? This isn't the day. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
We're just going to go eat at the Grotto, which is exciting. I love eating at the Grotto.
Yeah.
And that's how it's going to go. So then we get up from the bench. And so, like, at this point, I'm like, it's probably not happening today.
Yeah.
So we head into the Grotto and sit down.
And ate. And I was nervous. I ate fast. And
so fast.
And the food was good because it's always good. But I was eating.
I always get the short ribs and the gnocchi, and we get the fondue, which is so good.
With the cheese fondue with the mushrooms, the mushrooms and like the little steak bits and the bread. You get extra bread and you dip the bread in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wicked good.
Yeah.
But I was nervous eating, and I got like stuffed and bloated and like gassy, like not farty gassy, like burpy
you kept
gassy.
burping and talking about how gassy.
I was just like, I was so full and I was so anxious, and it was. I'm sure at that point you were like certain.
I was certain. At the point that you started burping excessively and saying like, I'm so gassy, I was like, he's definitely like, we stopped at the Commons, it didn't happen there.
Yeah.
We had dinner, he's ordered dessert, he's talking about how full he is. There's no way we're getting engaged tonight, and that's totally fine.
And it wasn't like I was belching in this restaurant. It was like, like stealth, like, oof, like I've overdone.
He was in discomfort.
I was in a bit of discomfort. Part of that is nerves,
discomfort. Yeah.
And we got out, and it was still light out.
But it was also like the windiest
super windy
day I've ever experienced in my life.
Yeah. And you were in, people might not know this, or whoever's watching might not be aware of this, but there was a time, and by the time I mean like the first 10
to 15 years
that I knew Tori, that she only wore like 3 to 4 inch heels.
I'm short.
That's all you would wear. I mean, like skyscraper heels.
Yeah.
And so we had actually parked in a lot because we drove down, and we never drove down, and we found this lot that's at the top of the hill at Bowden Street.
Huge hill.
And
it's a huge hill.
It's on the same street as the Golden Dome, as the State House, which is the same street the grotto is on. And the grotto is kind of at the bottom of the hill, and the parking lot is up at the top. So we get out, it's still light out. So like in my head, the sun has gone down, romance. Sun is still out. We must have done the early bird special because it was freaking March. It wasn't like we did it in July.
Well, plus we lived up here in Maine.
Yeah.
So we knew we were driving down there and having to drive home.
Yeah.
So
we
like,
get,
looking in retrospect, we didn't have kids. Like, why didn't we get a hotel room down there for the night and have a dog walker come take care of the dogs?
Because we weren't making that kind of money.
Oh, true. We would just had kind of moved up here and spent everything.
Yeah, like we weren't at that level that we eventually got to.
Right.
We weren't there. That's like when I lived in Boston.
Right.
You know, I had like these moments where I was like, oh my God, I lived a place that it was a 2-minute walk from the commuter rail into downtown Boston to South Station, and then from there, and there's like so many restaurants and bars and stuff, and I was like, while I lived there, like, why didn't I take advantage of that stuff? And the answer was because I was broke.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to forget, or it's easy to forget rather, that like I didn't have money. Once I paid Garrett rent for living in that pigsty, that like there wasn't a whole lot left over.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, why didn't we get a dog walker and stay at a hotel? It's like, well, that would have been crazy at the time.
Right, that would have been like a luxury.
A huge luxury. That would have been like $400 easy.
Yeah.
Probably more.
Mm-hmm.
Plus the dinner.
Right.
Yeah, we weren't rolling like that at the time. There's no way. So it's windy. It's still light out. Not romance.
And like the wind was somehow simultaneously blowing me down the hill and blowing all my hair in my face. So like, because I had my hair all done up and
Yeah, it was like going crazy.
And I was just like, I gotta get to the car. Like, this is driving me insane.
Yeah. So I'm trying to slow you down.
You're like, just wait.
And to like do the thing. And you were on a mission. You were going up that hill like.
I'd already decided there was no way you were proposing.
So
like, I was 100% certain.
So I'm trying to stop you. I don't know. I wasn't like, I clearly wasn't successful, but it's like I wasn't even like keeping up with you. So of course, rather than doing it in the Boston Common, rather than doing it in the restaurant itself, rather than doing it outside of the restaurant, I find the most romantic place to propose, which is between our car and a bunch of other cars in a dirt lot, a pay-for parking lot at the top of that hill. And
it was just like mud.
It was like mud, and you were so focused on getting in the car, and you got to like where your door is, or like that's your side of the car, and then I got down, and then you dropped your purse, and
I said, "Is this real life?"
Yeah, you did. You said, "Is this real life?" I do not remember what I said. I'm sure it was lovey-dovey, and that was that. And then, yeah.
And then I think you did play the video.
I think I did in the car, but then that was all disjointed, and
oh yeah,
we didn't have like, I mean, this sounds like back in our day, but at the same time, like it wasn't like it was like 5G everywhere, so I'm sure it didn't like load right, and
you could put the video at the end of this though.
Yeah. But then we drove home, and you took pictures, and you called your mom, and you texted out pictures, and you posted things on the book.
I did. I posted real things on the book.
And that was us getting engaged. And I think it was probably 30 to 45 minutes after that that you started doing preliminary planning of the wedding.
I did, and I started like plotting out how we were gonna like have the rehearsal dinner at the grotto. That was like my key thing. I was like, we gotta get the rehearsal dinner at the grotto.
We did.
We did. It took me a while to make that happen.
Yeah.
At a price we could like afford. But
yeah, and they were actually. I mean,
they were really good about it. Once
we
got
don't
the
have
right
time
people.
to get into that story, but needless to say, you over imbibed. I over imbibed.
I didn't over imbibe as much as you did.
No, I did. I definitely. Oh
I
my
was
god!
like,
I embarrassed
wow.
our favorite restaurant, and I like. Oh my god.
Oh please, they loved you.
I don't think they did. By the time it was time to go, they were ready for us to go. So, but we can talk about that in a later episode.
Yeah.
But that is the story of us getting engaged.
Oh, and then we went home. It was really early because then we went to Boda.
Oh yeah.
And we got free drinks all night, which was like kind of common at Boda anyway. It's not really like, oh, Tori and Kevin got engaged, let's give them free drinks. It was like...
I mean, because at that point we had lived in Maine for at least 2 years, and so
Yeah.
they had everybody at that bar, and everybody that worked there knew the saga of the fact of how long we've been dating and how I hadn't proposed yet. So, like, you know, it was like Portland, Maine had a sigh of relief.
That. Yeah.
I know. I was like, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm sure we hung out with all our regular buddies. I know Leon and Jeremy were bartending.
Yep. Yep, at Bedota's.
Yep.
So, that's it.
That's it. That's the story of how we got engaged.
In the future, we will talk about us meeting and our first dates. And we'll talk about...
moving around and...
and the wedding.
Yeah.
And dating and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
for now, considering we've spoken for 27 minutes about about a thing that like all in was like, you know, like basically it was like 2 hours all in.
Yeah.
And we've talked for
but you know, we did a lot of
quarter
prelim.
of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We ready to stop this thing and see if it recorded anything?
Yeah, I hope it did.
Yeah, I mean the audio on that is fine. So
yeah, so
if
one way or
worse
the
comes
other.
to worse, it'll be good. All right. Until next time. Let's. Oh God! Don't do anything. Let's pause. Okay, we stopped. All right. So now I need to do reduce. And I need to do format. Share. This is track 1. You are track 1. That is something else.
What?
Come up a little closer here. This is special to me.
I know.
You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. The other night, dear, as I lay sleeping, I dreamed I held you in my arms. But when I woke, dear, I was mistaken. So I hung my head and cried. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away.
Now I need a tissue. I know. Tom needs a tissue.